He's over your direction now. Hi, friends. I'm Rich Osmotherly. Thanks for having me today. I want to tell you about a young man that used to live across the street from us. Largely an inspiration for joining Awana. You see, this young man would come over to our house. He was, in the neighborhood of 10, 12 years old. He'd come over and play quite a bit. He was a kid, typical 12-year-old, kind of dirty, and things didn't really care. But he was always respectful of us. And he'd come over to the house and play. And one day he invited our boys to come over and play at his house. So go ahead and go. After a while, they came back and they weren't giving us real good reports of what they were seeing over there. And so we decided, you guys just play over here. That's fine. He's welcome anytime at our house. A few years later, I went to work as a correctional officer. And I'd always wondered if Andrew wouldn't get in trouble. And one morning, I ran into him there. You see, I was on the transport team. And we went into segregation to move probably right around 20 inmates out of segregation to a different facility. And when we went in there, we were handed a roster with all the names on it. And me and my partner were assigned to a specific cell. And we went over there, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, obviously they were all asleep, but we woke this young man up and put him through the process of transport, checking for contraband and things like that. And I told him, okay, stick your hands out through the cuff port. And he looked at me and he goes, "Are you Josh's dad?" And I froze. I always hate hearing that. I looked up at him and he introduced himself, and it was Andrew. And the chill ran down my spine. It was a hard day that day, but I had to hang the 5 pounds chains on him, put handcuffs on him, leg restraints on him, a waist chain on him. Because at that point in time, I'm not a friend any longer. I'm an officer, and I'm going to protect the public from this inmate, this young man that used to live across the street from me. After that incident, I started looking for ways, to see what I could do to help young kids, to give them something positive to think about and keep them out of trouble with the law. Being a correctional officer, the first inclination was to go through the prison authorities and what can we do, what can I do to help these young kids? And the first thing that I was told is you'll have to go work through the director with that. And I thought there was probably a way that I didn't have to do things without working through quite all that red tape. And quite frankly, I didn't want to do the extra paperwork that was going to be involved. Not that they weren't supportive, but just, how do we start a new program like this? And, I just didn't feel like I was heading down the right avenue. The DARE program was going on at that time with the police department, and I knew that officer fairly well. So I checked with her to see, can I work through the DARE program this way in this aspect? She says, let me check with my supervisors. The response that she got back was that I would have to become a certified police officer, and that was not something I was willing to do. So I'm frustrated because I've got this drive in me to be able to help these young people. Well, that fall, Awana was just getting ready to start up, and I wanted my kids involved in Awana. And I attended a parents' meeting, and I thought, well, I'm just going to sign up as a helper, just at random because, I didn't feel like I could teach a class. Didn't feel like I had that capability, but I could still come in and help. I could do a modified version, if you would, of my security abilities and keep the discipline in order with the group. A couple weeks into the program, the teacher of the 12 and 13-year-old boys wasn't able to be there that night, and my pastor asked me if I would take over that class. And I said, well, I really don't even know where they're at, but I said, I guess we'll give it a whirl. So I sat down and with them and started going through things, and they were doing pretty good because they didn't know me very well, and okay, how far do I go here? And the pastor happened to stop in and sit with the class for a little bit, and we went through scripture reading, and okay, and I asked him what's going on here. And after a while, the pastor left, and later he said, you know what? He said, that was pretty good. He said, I think you should be a teacher. Well, no pat on my back because I've got a long ways to go with that detail. But anyway, the next week, their regular teacher was back, and I'm going to sit in on the class again. And we had some discipline issues that day, and I corrected those issues. But toward that evening, after the class was over with, she asked me if I would take over that class. And I kind of hemmed and hawed about it, hesitated. And she says, I feel like after what you've just told me, that God has called you to do that. That was something I really could not argue with. Because once I got out of the way, trying to do things my way, and let God do things His way through me, we were able to accomplish what I was trying to accomplish to start with. But instead of trying to do it on my own, I was doing it with God now. So as you get into this program and you get going with it, you're doing God's will, and God bless you.